let the fun begin. So if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, we gotta work on 4 wheels today.
So as you guys know, I'm trying to get my KX250 up and going and ready for the trails.
But we don't have a way to get to the trails. For the past like 3 months, I haven't had a vehicle. I've either been borrowing somebody else's or just riding everywhere. And I have 2 vehicles, well, 3 at that, and none of them run right now. Yeah, it's a Jeep thing, you wouldn't understand.
So I'm sure you've seen it in the background in some of my videos, but this right here is my 2000 Cherokee. These wheels are actually Plasti Dip, and I did that years ago, and it held up super good.
How y'all doing? My name's Blake, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do a rim job on your truck.
But for you non-Jeep guys, the year 2000 was a bad year. In the 2000 to 2001 models, they both had cylinder heads that had a bad casting, and it caused them to crack, and it would leak coolant down into your block, and eventually blow up your engine. So not knowing much about that at the time, I found an ad for this Jeep that had a knock. And it was actually on the same street I was living at the time. And he wanted like $1,000 for it. So I was like, man, like if we get this, we rebuild it, it was pretty clean. So I'll have a nice Jeep for not that much money. So I bought it, and it ended up being a rod knock, obviously. So my dad and I completely gutted everything, rebuilt the entire engine, went through the whole interior, headliner, got a new seat, got the other seat reupholstered, cleaned up the floorboards, rocker panels, everything. This was a vehicle that I planned on having for years to come. And like I said, not knowing much about Jeeps at the time, we got that head re-welded. And if you know anything about that, is it's still gonna be prone to cracking again, which it did. The past like year I was driving it, it was just going through coolant like it was nothing. So I'm sure it's leaking down into my block. So that's why that's sitting. I'm hoping the block is still good and I can just throw a head on there from a previous year, like a 98, which leads me to my next point. So I needed another vehicle and I didn't want to spend that much money because I wanted to get the Jeep back up and going. So I found an ad for the ZJ. Just had a bunch of new parts on it, brand new suspension. I mean, a lot of stuff done to this thing. And I probably put like 5,000 miles on it in the winter when I was working with MJ, but then it kind of went downhill. And part of that is just not doing the proper maintenance, but it started to get a really bad drive shaft vibration. And I thought it was the front at first, so I just took out the front drive shaft. It kept getting worse and worse. Thankfully, I had put the front drive shaft back in, and sure enough, one day I was driving on the freeway, it was so bad, it was just, the whole Jeep was shaking. I heard a big pop, and I look in my rear view, there goes my drive shaft flying down the road. It was pretty heavy traffic at the time, and I just watched that thing go right between a whole row of cars, so thankfully I didn't hurt anybody. But I hopped out on the freeway, went, grabbed the drive shaft, it was broken, it's a double cardan, but I was able to put it in front wheel drive, and I drove it for like another month and a half in front wheel drive. So what happened is the transmission mount got so worn out that my transfer case and drive line was just bouncing all around, and eventually the drive shaft just had enough and it snapped the output shaft on my transfer case. So just about 2 weeks ago, I found a transfer case on Facebook, saved me the trip to the junkyard. Thanks Luke for picking it up. Me and my cousin Luke then pulled this transfer case out of here, and that's where we're at. Hopefully it just needs the transfer case, the transmission mount, I need another drive shaft, and we should be good to go. And I'm gonna try to do that all today. Because like I said, I really need a vehicle, and this thing's just been hanging over my head for a long time. I don't really like working on cars. Everything's so cramped, tight, heavy, and my hands always get beat up. But you know what? Enough excuses. I gotta figure a way to push this thing into the garage by myself. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. It's in a pretty bad spot. I can't get behind it to push it with anything because there's trees in the way. We'll figure it out though. But yeah, changing it up, working on cars today. I'm just itching to get everything done so we can just have fun, go ride on the trails, and not have to worry about having transportation.
This ZJ is a 98, by the way, and it's actually super nice. It's got over 200,000 miles on the body. And for Ohio, with the way that this looks, that's unheard of.
So overall, I'm really happy with it. It runs good. I do plan on selling this though, and then just going to the junkyard and getting a head for the 2000. But let's get this thing pushed in the shop and see what we can do. My transportation for now. Now we just got to find something to put in between the bucket and the bumper. That should work pretty good.
not even bad. In the future, if I'm staying here, all this stuff is gonna be gone on this side. And obviously those 2 stoves and all that stuff will be gone. So I have plenty of room to work on a vehicle.
But hey, we got her in here by ourselves, didn't break anything in the process, so we're off to a good start.
So I stuffed a rag in there hoping all the transmission fluid wouldn't leak out, but I'm sure a lot of it did. Got a tie down holding the transmission up, so that's nice. But yeah, as you guys can see, it's pretty clean under here. I'm not really sure where this vehicle like lived most of its life, but I bought it in Ohio, so I'm gonna have to do something about that exhaust too. So that is the aftermath from the old transfer case. Snapped clean off. And this is the 242J for any of those wondering.
I waited so long to put it back in that I don't really remember taking it out, so we'll see how this goes.
So we got the new transmission mount we're gonna put in. Don't remember which way it goes, so that's awesome. That looks like it hangs down way too low. Ah, dude, that's because the transmission is dropped. Okay, I understand now. So here's the condition of the old transmission mount. Pretty beat. Slide her into position here. I'm not really sure how we're gonna do this by ourselves, but we're gonna give it a good try. Might actually have this. Come on. Ow, ow, ow. Ah. We'll try it a little bit different this time. I just gotta put a whole video together of just the sounds that I make while working on. My goal is just to get this thing up there, and I'll break for lunch. This is the hardest part, by myself at least. Problem is, I can't see. This exhaust is me off. Oh yeah, heck yeah. I like that, boys, got her. Man, check out that exhaust setup. That's premium right there.
All right, it's day 2 on the ZJ project. I got as far as getting the transfer case put up in, but it's just sitting there. I didn't put any nuts on it or anything. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Connect all the lines and sensors, jack up the transmission, get that transmission mount fixed, put the cross member back on, put the drive shaft in, and we hopefully should be able to move it on its own weight. We'll see.
So for some reason, one of these studs was too long. Instead of trimming it down, I just threw a couple washers on there. Got my friends here hanging out with me. Bada boom! So I got the linkage on and good to go. I got this hose on there. I have a few sensors to connect, find out where they go, and that's it. So I'm guessing this is the speed sensor, but the connection ends were different. And he had the harness for it, but I'm not gonna mess with all that, so I just swapped the sensor, so hopefully we're good. So I got everything that I could hooked up. We don't have a plug for that on the stock harness. I'd imagine it's just not gonna tell me whether I'm in 4-wheel drive or not, and I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't throw a code. So this must have been out of a different year, maybe like a Wrangler or something, and I just figured the sensors would be the same, but why would they make it easy? Should work. I mean, it's the same everything, it just has different sensors on it. I believe this Grand has what's called the select tract, which is kind of a bummer because it gave you like a cool little indicator down below, but I need to reorganize the shop so I can actually do this comfortably. In the future, I'll have some big jack stands and into creeper, and that'll make this a lot more enjoyable because I'm just beating myself up, crawling all over the floor and in and out of this thing, in and out of this thing. It's not even noon yet and I'm beat up. Alright guys, the cross member is in. The last step is just to lower the transmission and put the transmission mount bolts in and throw the drive shaft in, and she should be able to roll. Alright guys, so the transfer case is installed. Like I said, this ended up being like a different variant of the 242J. The front drive shaft lines up perfectly, so we just need a rear drive shaft. It's under its own weight now. Everything is put back in. We're gonna fire her up without any fluid in the transfer case just to move it out of the barn. I think we'll be alright. Nothing. So I'm pretty sure it leaked all the transmission fluid out. I'm hoping that's why it rolled like that, but I'm gonna go fill it up. And man, hopefully this works. It was grinding into gear, and I'm guessing that's just because it's bone dry. So hopefully after I get it topped off, she'll be fine. So we're on our way to the junkyard right now to grab that rear drive shaft. I think it's still gonna be there because I hid one like outside of the fence in between this other building, like off of the property, hoping that it would be there next time. But what, that was like 3 months ago?
Yeah, at least.
We'll see. That'd be crazy if it's still there.
Yep. It's my third time here.
Everything's new, of course, since I came last time. How nice would that be?
What?
If it was just back there already pulled. Of course not. Got a whole bunch of tires there since last time. No, there it is.
Oh god, dude.
There it is.
It fell down in there. How are you gonna get it?
I have no idea. I'll have to fish something onto it because I think that's the same one I need. We did it.
That guy's gonna be like, damn, you guys pulled that out quick.
All right, guys, made it back home from the junkyard. Never try to start it without transmission fluid and an automatic transmission. I heard you can get away with it with a manual transmission as long as you have the clutch engaged, but with the automatic transmission, it's spinning regardless. So hopefully there's a little bit of fluid in there. It did not sound good, and hopefully that wasn't because the transfer case is screwed up. I wouldn't think so because I wasn't even rolling. It was when I was shifting gears, which would have nothing to do with the transfer case when I was, shifting from park to reverse to neutral. So I'm gonna fill the transfer case up first, might as well. Transmission fluid, these older ZJs, you need to have like the Dexron 3 or the Mercon 5 rating. And I have a pump. So the lubricant pump goes down in there and we're gonna fill it up. So it's time to see if the drive shaft fits. It would help if I took this old seal off. Alright. Look at that juicy red. I'm not sure how much we lost, so I'm going to be kind of conservative with this. Well guys, this is it. About 10 hours into this. I don't have high hopes. The last time I fired it up, it sounded pretty rough. And I only had to put like 2.5 quarts of transmission fluid in it, so it shouldn't have been making the noises that it was. I'll at least try to get it rolled out of here, but it wasn't sounding too good.
You're good. A 20-point turn. Woo-wee!
See what kind of noises she makes when I put her in four wheel. That's four wheel. About four low.
There.
We did it, boys.
Woohoo!
Might as well drive it like we stole it. Get everything jostled around a little bit, see if anything breaks. So like I said, guys, it had this really cool indicator down here. I must not have the select track transfer case now, but I mean, you're only losing the lights down there, which half the lights in this thing doesn't work anyway, so I think that's a sacrifice we'll make. What is up, you guys? It's the next morning, so I have good news and bad news. The good news is I put about 50 miles on it already and she's running great. But we still have some driveline vibration. So from everything that I've seen online and from what my buddy Daniel told me, it's due to my angle of the rear drive shaft. So I'm gonna need to drop the transfer case. I went ahead and bought the 1-inch drop kit on Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow actually, but it shouldn't take too long, so no big deal. Stay. Overall, I'm really happy with everything. For not doing anything like this before, it went pretty smooth. Easy stuff for the most part. Just physically, it was kind of tasking rolling around on the floor so much. But everything should be good to go tomorrow. I'll get that drop installed. And like I said, I plan on selling it to get a mini truck until I can find my van. At least we got a vehicle to get us to the trails for now. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Tomorrow's the birthday party, so it should be a good time. Plenty of videos to come from that. And until tomorrow's video, I will see you all later. Are you pouting? Go ahead. Oh, yeah.